Well, there you are. That was another interruption. That's 3 times I tried to make this. Anyway, never mind, we'll get to it. It's a phone again. Right, Jeffrey Petcharison, that's me. Gentleman extraordinaire, amateur radio, rebuilder, constructor, restorer, and buffoon. Anyway, what have we got here? We've got the Sbitx V2, or as I call it, the V22, because it's one I sort of done a bit of work on myself. And as you can see, this is touchscreen SDR. It's invented by a guy called Ashraf Farhan over in India. You can buy it as a kit. You can buy it ready built. I'll tell you a little story about this. When I bought this one, it was already built. It lasted 3 days. There was a big bang and a puff of smoke. The transistors went, the output transistors, and the track on the bottom of the board had become the de facto fuse. So I got in contact with him. I said, just send me a board that works. It doesn't have to be new, even though it was a new rig. It had only been out a couple of days. So I wasn't worried. And they sent me a board. That lasted about 3 or 4 days. And it started producing waves of noise and a digital noise. I had a look at the board and it had all been re-hand soldered, and I think one of the ICs has got a bridge pin, but I couldn't really tell. So I was a bit disappointed, and one of my friends had an accident with his. The power had got lower and lower, I don't know why. He sent it to me and I repaired that board, so that was even more money, and put that board in, and that's what's running the rig now. I made a lot of contacts on FT8. I haven't used it on SSB yet. I haven't used it on CW, but that's what I was planning on using it on. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It produces about 42 watts on the lowest band, and about 19, I think it was 19 watts according to this, 19 watts on 10 meters. I'm not quite sure why there's such a power differential. When I went on the website, it said 40 on the lower bands, 30 on the higher. Well, 19 isn't 30, it's nowhere near, it's not even 20. But never mind, you only use low powers for digital anyway. As you can hear the sound of the rig itself. And so it's a good idea, but it's not fully fledged. There's still a few problems. And I think people need to be aware of that. One word of warning, if you're running FT8, you should only run the rig at half power. If you run it more than that, the transistors will overheat, they will short and burn and blow your board. And this is what a lot of people have been doing. They haven't realised the rig is 40 watts, but you can't run it at 40 on FT8. 20 is the maximum. In fact, it should be run at about 15. I run mine about that. So that's how I'm doing it, and it seems to have been lasted okay. According to the advert, it says you don't need anything like a fan. If you're doing FT8, you need a fan. That heatsink gets red hot even on 20 watts. And when you're doing digital modes, which is heavy duty cycle, you need a cool PA. You don't want it getting hot. So I fitted a fan. It says it's quiet running, but you can still hear it. If you put any fan, you're going to hear it. You can hear it now, so I mean it's not silent running. Silent means you can't hear it. There's a lot of BS on the market. They say a quiet fan, if you can hear it, it's not quiet. Well, they used to call them silent running, but they weren't silent. Now they call them quiet. Well, quiet means stumm. It doesn't mean you can hear it at all. But never mind, we won't go on to that. So what I did is I did some work on it, and I'll tell you what I did. I put every transistor in there, the metal ones. There's 4 metal transistors at the preamps. They have got cooling heat sinks on there. They're like a star shaped. I fitted those. The transistors that do the regulation are bent towards the board. They've got no heat sinks. They get absolutely red hot. Don't know why they got no heat sinks. They should have heat sinks and they don't. So I pulled those up from the board to a 90-degree angle, and I bought some heat sinks, but they were a bit long. So what I did is I cut them off and I fitted the heat sinks. What I'll do later on, I'll do a second video. I'll show you the boards and I'll show you what I do when I modify these. And the other thing on the sockets, there's no decoupling capacitors on the sockets on the side, which makes the whole thing sensitive to RF. And when you transmit Morse code, you'll find if you've got an antenna close to the radio, like a loop or something, what you'll find is the key will lock into transmit and it'll go beep, 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 and you can't get out of it. And that's because the RF has killed the switch in the radio and it's just locked into position. So it causes a bit of an issue. The other thing is it runs entirely on transistor switching. Transistor switching is great, providing you don't have any RF in the shack. If you do, you're going to get problems with the switching. I think the TX and RX should have been done by a relay. The coils are fine doing electronically, but the TX and RX should have been done with a relay, a reed relay preferably. But anyway, that's what I've picked up. And so this is the Sbitx. It uses RF-Z24N transistors. Technically they're not RF transistors, they offer a power supply. That is probably why people have so many problems and burnouts. It should be using an RD type transistor. It should be using an RF MOSFET. It shouldn't be one of those. But what you've got to realise, this rig is made for the Indian market where people haven't got a lot of money. But still, there's still $499, which is not an insignificant amount of money when you've got transistors burning out and regulators overheating. Also, I've had D6 go in there and the inverter blows. So, you know, don't expect to buy a fully fledged Kenwood. You're getting a kit radio, which is actually very well made, but you're going to have to do a little bit of homework. So what I'm going to do is just take you through something. You'll see my ugly face, you won't see everything. You've got the mode selected FT8, that's the skin on the front. The volume is 75. For some reason the volume on this radio, it's got a very poor output amplifier. It's not very loud and it tends to go into distortion quite easily. I only do digital modes on this, so I can just turn the volume off, it doesn't matter. I just put that on top of it to cut it down. You've got your main waterfall, your screen. There is a load more on the top, but I've pushed it up because I want to transmit. It's also got a logbook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a transmission out. You press the call button, I don't know why escape comes up, and then you get the blue writing on black, which is almost impossible for people like me to see. I don't know why the background is black, it makes it very difficult to put any colours on it. I'm colour blind and I find my vision's not that great and I find it quite difficult anyway. So it'll transmit in about 30 seconds, there you are. Look at the meter, it's pushing 20 watts, just under 20, which is 19. 1-to-1 SWR, and it's just transmitted a signal. This is my screen. I'm going to press it and see if anyone picked anything up. And someone has picked me up in Croatia, Scotland, Italy, nothing else. Yeah, it tends to build up. So 88 minutes ago I was working in America. The band's not very good. The bands are very poor at the moment. This is the encoder for the tuner. The only thing that's wrong with this is you can't lock the frequency. So you've only got to knock that knob by accident and you're pretty well finished. And when you push the screen up, you can't see the number on the frequency. I'll show you that when that stops transmitting. See if you notice it's there. To be able to get to the logbook, I've got to go up. If I go up, I can't see those numbers display frequency. So you've got to be careful. You knock that knob and you could be off frequency and not know. What it needs is for Farron to do the software. So when you press the knob in, because it does click, you press it in and it locks the frequency and it won't move. That's what it wants. But that's what you get anyway. What I'm running here, I'm running an indoor open loop end fed with a counter voice, it's just log wire. This MFJ 941 Echo, or as I call it, made from junk. And that works well. I've got two of these. And I'm running this PC I bought 9 years ago. It's as new as the day I bought it because I look after everything. I'm a bit sort of, what do they call it? Compulsive behaviour disorder. As soon as that keyboard gets worn shiny, out it comes new keyboard. I can't stand anything that's greasy. And it's got two tiny marks on under that label when I dropped my keys on it. When that first week I got it. Apart from that, 9 years old, it's brand new. I've put in a brand new hard drive, SSD drive. I put 16 gig of RAM in there. Can't do Windows 11 on it. I don't like 11 anyway. I prefer 10. So I'm running 10 on that, and it runs really great. Probably runs for this. And so there you are. That's a little bit about the BITX V2, the Sbitx V2, as I call it, the 22 or the 2 Plus. What I should do later on is do a short video. It'll be handheld, and it will be on the boards. So there will be a few shadows because unfortunately my kitchen lights leave a shadow over everything when I'm stood by anything. So that might be something that you may have to look at. But if I show you the other skin on here, that's the main sort of skin for transmitting. It's going to log out in a minute and save that. It will save the logbook automatically. Sometimes you have to press the enter, but if you don't get the 73s. But because I got everything there, what's he said? Here's 73, that will log. If he doesn't do that, I have to log it manually. That's using a similar logger to N1, is it? Or NN, don't ask me how to say it. There's too many M's and M's together. So what we're trying, we set in the rod, Joey, isn't it? There's no 73's been sent. So I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. We're not getting out very far, we're only doing Europe. The bands are bad. So he sent his 73's. The log is cleared because his 73's have been sent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera over slightly. And I'm going to, well, I can't amplify it any more than I have, unfortunately. The lens won't allow it. But never mind, I should have put the zoom lens on and I didn't. Well, the bigger lens. If I push this arrow at the top, do that, you've got the... I prefer this skin, to be honest with you. But of course the logbook then is not really visible. So as you can see, there's a lot of information on there. And what this rig does, it does from 80 to 10 meters. It does the whole bands. You haven't got a lot more, you know, wide bands it to cover other bands. America. What we'll do is we'll have a look. You've got the mode. You've got all the filters there. The compressor. The microphone. It's got a microphone compressor. Very useful. It's got all the bands on there. It's got its own little keypad for if you want to use a pen to type a message for digital modes. It's got your step, and it's got the signals coming through, and so it's not a bad little little radio, but as I say, it just needs a bit more perfection, and so I'm hoping that that's been useful. I'm sorry I do waffle a bit. That's me. I'm a waffleologist. I do a lot of waffle and take up a lot of video space doing a lot of waffle. It looks like that. So there you are, everyone. That's the BITX, and I'll just show you my neat little trick. It's really good to read that meter, and also put plenty of RF beads on all your cables, because if you've got an antenna close by, it is sensitive to RF getting in. I don't know why a metal case would be sensitive to RF getting in, but anyway, there, $499 from Asher Farhan, hfsignals.com. He also does another model. It's called the BITX5, or it's known as the micro BITX. Sorry about that. That's certainly worth getting. That's 10 watts, but you only get 2 watts on 10 meters. There's obviously some issue that you're going to have to do with that. I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to use it as a machine for doing whisper. It won't be used for anything else. So that will be coming eventually. Anyway, bye-bye. 73s, as they say in amateur radio language. I hope that you are fine. Bye-bye.